Before, when Muammar Gaddafi was in there was literally no homelessness in the country. I'm not saying it's perfect, but everybody
No,
had a
but
place to
yeah,
live and
it
eat and
don't have to be
healthcare.
perfect.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
nowhere is perfect. This man built out their entire irrigation system, bro.
Yeah,
Like, how do you do that across a country like that, bro? Over time, right? That's putting valued resources together,
100%.
right? He wanted to give Minister Farrakhan $1 billion,
Yep.
from my understanding, for black people in America.
Yes. And
And the government would not allow
they
it,
would
right?
not
So
allow it.
we'll take a $400 jet from Qatar, but the administration would not allow $1 billion to be given to Minister Farrakhan. That's all the rep. It ain't that we don't even number a billion. He could have gave each black person $1 million in this country, and we'd have never asked anybody for anything again as long as we live.
But you know what? But to your point, see, here's the thing. Barack Obama was part of that not happening. He's not the
Absolutely.
sole person, but he's part of that not happening. So when black Americans or black people living in America feel like, well, Obama was great, he was great. But it's like also the flip side of it is, yes, you do like him, we like him, but we have a hard time acknowledging the wrongs that he did. And
I don't. I don't. The thing, bro, I don't think most people know the wrongs that he did. Let's talk
right,
about the average citizen, right? The average
absolutely.
citizen is not, and it's when I researched Kamala, her campaign, the same as Trump campaign. I had a website. I pulled all this stuff up. I would look at these things and just take notes of what they describing. All that stuff is smoke and mirrors to me whenever I see it, right? I just know, like, because I believe once you get in office, you get that little black book and you say, hey, this is how the country is actually run. And you're
Right.
like, and I think what Trump is doing is like, give me that black book. I don't care about that. This is
Yeah,
my
yeah,
show
exactly.
now, right? So
Exactly.
he's dismantled what we consider good politics. As far as I'm concerned, he's a shadow. He's a reincarnation of Andrew Jackson, who was the inventor of dirty politics. Him and his wife were relentless in history, bro. With Andrew Jackson, just a monster of a man, and he's shadowing this dude. And that's just my personal opinion. I think the thing about Libya that's really disgusting when you talk about Libya, and I believe I saw a clip. If somebody asked President, I'm gonna try to find it. Don't hold me to this, but I
Mhm.
believe in an interview somebody asked him what's one of his biggest regrets, and he mentioned Libya. I'm gonna
Who?
try to see if I can
Barack
find that
Obama?
clip. Yeah, he mentioned Libya. He mentioned Libya. It's one of
Mhm.
his regrets, and that's the humanity that I see in bro. But I don't consider any of these cats perfect. None of them. I don't care who it is. None of them will be perfect ever. But the thing about it's not just about the overthrow of Libya. It's what they did to Gaddafi. They sodomized that man with a rusted pipe, stripped him naked,
Yeah.
had him on camera, bro, and they sodomized that man
Yeah.
with a pipe.
And
That's an American permanent stamp stain on the presidency of Barack Obama.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they made sure you saw it. And the thing of it is you just made a 2 points. So I'm gonna answer your question as far as what Trump has did that's good, and
Yeah,
also to your point about the average citizen not knowing. I think the reason why the average citizen does not know is because, and I'm talking about the average black citizen now for a minute, because
yeah,
I think the reason why we don't know is because emotionally we like the person. That's why I think people think everything Trump does is bad, right? And I think that it's automatic. So it's almost like they don't know what Trump did. People don't know what bad stuff Trump did, but they just feel like it's automatically bad. The same way they don't know what Barack Obama did, and they're like, well, whatever he did had to be good or it had to be done. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, if you ask me, pound for pound, I like Barack Obama a lot more. He's been a plus. However, he did some things while being in office as far as deportations, as far as bombings, coups like we're talking about, or helping to, overthrow a country, whatever you want to call it. He took place in all of these things that if Donald Trump was doing it, which deportations, for example, he's doing, we're pissed off. If Donald Trump right now invaded Venezuela, for example, let's say he did Venezuela like Barack did Libya, everybody would know about it. We'd all be mad about it. People who don't like him, especially, would be mad, and they say, "Well, you went in. Who cares the problems that Venezuela has? You got to leave them alone. You're going in there. The CIA is going in there, helping to overthrow them with a crew, and then whatever happens with that country afterwards, they're going to pin that on Trump." To this day, when I look at Libya, I just watched something on Libya very recently as to where
Hmm.
they are now. Most people don't put that on Barack Obama. They don't put anything on Barack Obama. The only thing they put on Barack Obama is positivity. I'm not mad at it, but the reason why I bring it up is that it's important to put things in context with him, because Barack Obama to me is like the opposite of Donald Trump. Barack Obama, for all intents and purposes, is one of the most liked presidents, and
Liked,
Trump is
smart, intelligent. Like, where else you want to go? Best dressed. We name
all
any
of it,
category, bro.
all
We
of
gonna.
it.
He doesn't. This dude doesn't hold a torch.
No, no,
But before you
right.
get into
I,
what he
I'm
did,
with you.
yeah,
I totally
yeah,
agree. I voted
yeah.
for Barack twice, so I again, I think that it's all about whether it's a net positive. So
Hmm.
no one's going to be perfect, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I say that to say that here's where I come to present day. I think where Kamala would have been bad if she'd been president. My personal opinion is that Kamala would have avoided some of the problems we have in this country, right? And I think she was clearly avoiding them with hope and change and just feel good stuff. Maybe she would have got in and tried to figure it out, but there's a couple of things that we have to deal with in this country. Immigration is definitely an issue. How to deal with it is another, is we can talk about that. But immigration, people acting like I talk to people about immigration, around the time of the election and thereafter. And a lot of people, some people I talked to were like, no, there's nothing, there is no immigration issue. There's some people who are convinced there is no immigration issue. There's people who are convinced that the borders were not, yeah, they were open, but how do you know they're telling the truth of how many people came into the country? I mean, there's just this thing, unless you people could see it, they're like, oh, they're against brown people and all these different constructs. And I'm like, no, there actually is a real issue. So I think that what Trump's administration has done inadvertently, to me, the two things that people are at least talking about, because again, I think that the average citizen is at least talking about immigration, and I think they're talking about the economy and how governments are spending money, federally and locally, you know. And I think those are issues that are extremely important. Just for
Hmm.
example, and I'll let you rock. I'm just want to
Yeah.
just bring it to a point,
Go ahead.
is
Yeah.
that
Take
I
your time.
think part of this, the awakening of people paying attention to what governments are spending, because literally that's really the issue. I'm not saying that Donald Trump has been the answer, but I think his presidency has brought forth that conversation, a conversation that Kamala Harris presidency would have smothered, and people just wouldn't have paid attention. Chicago, for example, the deficit, how Chicago's being run, Brandon Johnson, New York, same issues. Um, Other places, Boston,
Hmm.
Seattle, there are issues as far as how, and then smaller towns, you know, we could get into, Dalton, Illinois, you know what I'm saying? Where I used to live, where we from. We could get into Harvey, who has huge problems right now. They damn near bankrupt, So the conversation as to how government is run, I think, has come into play, and I think it's become, yeah, not everybody's talking about it, but it's part of the conscious conversation of everyday people, which I think is a good thing. So that's the thing I think has happened.
Well, I'll say this because Barack Obama, I think, is an excellent example of what a president should look like, with flaws and all, because he's not perfect at all. And again, I've shared these things. I remember bringing up the drone strikes as his administration was doing, and people were running me through the mud because you know what? They're not informed,
Right.
and they don't seek to be informed. Right?
Right.
When from a military man. I've had to, especially when we had a veterans ministry, man. I was into everything for veterans, just trying to understand. Like there was a documentary about the pilots who had PTSD from the Obama administration from dropping them drones, bro. Like
Mm,
it was crazy. But that's just like when you got the PTSD when you're dealing with Iraq and Afghanistan and things like that.